Hello and happy Writing Wednesday. Sorry, I'm a little bit late today jumping on. I was running around trying to gather up all the things for Jovi, first of all, who obviously wants to come say hi, and for not only Writing Wednesday, but right after this, we're doing the Retreat Box reveal. So join us for that as well. And so I was just gathering up the supplies for that. Um, so we're all set. So today we're talking about 10 ways that you know it's time to finally write your book. 10 different ways how you would know. Okay, I'm going to have to get rid of the dog because she thinks my bracelet stack is her toy and it is not. So I'm going to have to get rid of her. Okay, we should be set, hopefully. We are talking about 10 ways, and then I'm going to give you three tips that will help you to actually take the action and get the book written, right? Because it's so often we're called to write, and then we get stuck in this. I don't know. We get stuck in this ugly middle, and it weighs on us, and we feel like it just. You can start feeling it rise up in your soul. You can start feeling this uneasiness and this ickiness, like it's just. I don't know. It doesn't feel good. And so I want you guys to feel good about writing, and it should be fun. It should be a fun process. So let's dive into the 10 ways. And if you're watching live, let me see. Okay, I'm just making sure I am live. Um, it looks weird on my screen. I wonder if all this time I've been talking to no one. Let me just double check because it looks weird on my screen, like it hasn't picked up. And so I just want to make sure. Oh, no, I am. Okay, there we are. It seems like there might be a little bit of delay, but we're all good. Okay, so we're going to start with the 10 different ways. So here are ways you know when it's time to write your book when all the good ideas come to me or come to you. They come to me. This is why this one's on here while you're trying to sleep. So if you're one of those people that at night you're laying there wide awake and you're like, idea, and you're like, oh, that would be so good and that would flow here and this, if that's happening to you about your book or any books, then you know it's time to write your book. And you need to take action on that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Number two is you start seeing reminders everywhere. So maybe you're driving in your car and your book is on a certain topic, and then all of a sudden there's a billboard, and you're like, wait a minute, that billboard ties into my book. Then it might be time. It might be time to write your book. Number three, it feels like your book idea is following you around. If you've ever felt like this, like you can't get away from it, it kind of goes with number one, right? You're seeing reminders everywhere, but it actually feels like, why do I feel like something's following me all the time, right? It feels like something's almost upon you. That is a sign that it is time to finally write your book. Okay. Number four, your shower thoughts include angst about your book, or maybe parts of your book, or you're starting to frame it out, but in the shower, you're starting to have these thoughts about your book. You can't even get away from it in the shower. Number five, you've started to write your book at least one time. At least one time. I have a book that's been haunting me for a while. A long while. It's the title, actually, of the very first book I ever intended to write, which my first book I published was Save the Buttertubs, Discover Your Worth in a Disposable World. But before this, there was two titles that I had ideas for, and one of those titles has resurfaced as another book that's kind of been haunting me. And so it's interesting, but I've started that book over and over and over, and I've just never gone with it. I probably have it in bits and pieces everywhere, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But knowing that, knowing you have, sorry, I had to check, she was quiet all of a sudden, I had to see what she was chewing on. Knowing you have all these bits and pieces everywhere, you've probably started your book at least once. Okay, number six, you have notes. This goes in the same places. You have notes in multiple places about your book. So maybe you have notes in your journal. You have notes on your phone. You have notes on sticky notes. You have notes, next to your computer. You have wherever those notes are starting to accumulate. you have notes in multiple places. Maybe you have it in a Google Doc. Maybe you have it in a Word doc. Maybe you have it in a Word doc, a Google Doc, on the sticky notes, all the places at once. If you have all that, you know it's time to write your book. Okay, number 7. You've told someone you're writing a book. You've told at least one person that you're writing a book. It's time to write the book. The idea, and this is number 8, the idea of not writing, it makes you feel sad. The idea of not writing your book actually makes you feel sad. How does that make you feel right now? Do you feel sad about that? I'm not sure what's going on over here on Facebook on my end. I can't see you guys at all. Normally, I can see you guys. Let me hit this button and see what happens. Nope, we don't want to leave. Okay, well, we're just going to go with it. If you're there, let me know in the comments and I will check my phone because I can't see you on the screen for some reason today, which is just craziness. But I want to know if any of these are resonating with you so far. Tell me hi, tell me where you're writing from. Did you hear that? Tell me where you're writing from, and let's talk about these and if they resonate with you. Oh, hang on, let me turn my volume down. I see we got some lives. We've got Lisa on. Hi, Lisa. So glad you're here joining me. We've got Laura and Kim as well. So thank you, ladies, for being here. And let me know which one of these is starting to resonate with you. You know it's time to write your book when. Okay, so what number were we on? I think we were on number 8. Let's see. Number 8, the idea, yeah, it makes you sad. Does it make you sad? I have on my to-be written list over 80 books. And it makes me sad because I think about how many years I have left to write. Now, obviously, we don't know, right? God could take me home today, and if he does, hey, Jesus, let's do it. But if he doesn't, I think about how long I have left in my life and how many books I would like to write and the books that I have lined up. And I think about how many books I would have to write per year in order to make that goal. So I have 80 left to write. I'm 51, so if I live to be 91, that's only 2 books a year. But I would actually like to finish those books well before then. And I have published up to 6 books in 1 year before, and so I know that I can do it again. I just need to take my own advice that I'm about to give you guys. And it's been a year, and we talk more about that later, but we've done some split a business, divided a partnership, reinvented a platform twice. A lot's been going on. So it's started Writer's Retreat Box. There's been a lot going on this year. So I'm not beating myself up about not writing the books. And that kind of goes into one of the tips. I'm getting ahead of myself, but don't beat yourself up. Okay, let's get back onto the list before we get to the tips. So the 10, and I'll repeat these. And if you're on my email list, you got a copy of this in your email. I will tell you that number 8 has a what do you call it? It says note instead of not, just so you know. Okay, we're on number 9. Number 9 says the idea of writing, the idea of writing it makes you feel a lump in your throat. Do you get a little lump in your throat when you think about writing your book? Is that a little lump of anxiety or overwhelming, or I don't know what I'm doing, or where do I start from here? Where do I go from here? It's a good lump. You should get a lump. It should be bigger than you. Writing a book should be bigger than you. Okay, number 10, the cover idea is starting to come to life in your mind. Maybe you've already started having visions of it. Maybe you can see it. You're picturing the color, you're picturing it holding in your hand, the size of it, those kind of things. If it's starting to come alive in your mind, it's time to start writing the book. Okay, I'll repeat those really quickly and then we'll go on to the 3 tips. Let me know in the comments any that resonate with you. I'm going to head over here to my phone and see if I can catch up with the comments. We'll see what it's doing over here. I don't know. It loves to be crazy when I'm live. Technology. It's so fun. That's why we're probably going to be switching our lives to StreamYard, which will still be the same here for you guys, but I'll be on a different platform behind the scenes so that I can see all this in one place. Okay, let's repeat our 10. So top 10 reasons or ways it's time to write your book. It's time when all the good ideas come to you when you're trying to sleep. Number 2, you start seeing reminders everywhere. Number 3, it feels like your book idea is following you around. Number 4, your shower thoughts include angst about your book. Number 5, you've started to write your book at least once. Number 6, you have notes in multiple places about your book or for your book. Number 7, you've told someone you're writing a book. Number 8, the idea of not, or in the email note, the idea of not writing your book makes you feel sad. Number 9, the idea of writing it makes you feel a lump in your throat. And number 10, the cover idea is starting to come alive in your mind. Okay, so what do we do? Now we know it's time. So what do we do next, right? What is the solution to this problem? Okay, the solution to this problem is in 3 easy steps, or I'm going to say they're easy, but sometimes they're not easy. But even for a seasoned writer, okay, and I'm considering myself a seasoned writer. I've published 10 books. I've written a lot more, as my sister pointed out to me recently when I mentioned those 80 in front of someone else. She said, and she started all of them. And that is true. All of them have been started. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the tips here. Okay, so the number 1 tip is to surrender to God and allow the Holy Spirit to write through you. Okay, that's the number 1 thing we should be doing. I shared this before when I first started writing Save the Buttertubs, how I was trying to separate myself from the book a little bit. I didn't want to put a lot about my faith in the book because my grandmother was never really boisterous about her faith, and I was sharing in the book about her faith and about her life, the things that she had asked me to write about, and I didn't want to overstep that. And then I was having a conversation. I was kind of stuck one day, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she said, whose book is this anyway? And it stung. I was like, wow, you're right. This book is all God's anyway. It wouldn't even be happening if it wasn't for him. So yes, I just need to surrender it to him and let him work through me. So at that point, the book, I had outlined 9 chapters, and I thought that was going to be the outline of my book. And it went from 9 to 15, or what's actually 16, including the introduction, like that overnight. As soon as I released it, it just happened. So I want you to release that. I want you to say, God, you've called me to write this book. I want you to just surrender it to him and say, okay, I'm going to show up on this day at this time to work on this book. Lord, show up. Please show up and help me to get the words onto the screen as I type, or into the book, or however you're typing your manuscript out. Okay, so that's the first thing, most important thing. And then we need to come back to that over and over and over and over again, right? So important to come back to that. Okay, the second thing is you need to take notes. You need to don't hate the notes, right? Sometimes people get like, you have all these notes in all these different places, and you're like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed by this. And you feel this angst, really, about like, I'm so unorganized, and I just have all these random thoughts, and how am I going to pull them together for a book? Don't hate the notes, okay? That means you have content. That means the idea is festering and it's coming out of you. So that's a good thing. Don't hate the notes. I'm starting to get some comments. This is good. So if you have notes in all these different places, what I want you to do is start to gather them, right? Make that an assignment. Make that today's Writing Wednesday. Maybe you don't feel like writing today because you're like, I just have all these notes everywhere, okay? Your Writing Wednesday then consists of spending your writing time gathering up those notes, gathering them up, putting like thoughts together. When I wrote Save the Buttertubs, I literally took my grandmother's notebook that she had written her thoughts down in, and it pained me to cut them apart, to pull the pages out, because I wanted to keep it this, whole. It almost makes me cry. But I knew I couldn't do it. I had to take them apart and lay them out on my dining room table, and then put the chapters that I thought I was, what I was writing, and I had to piece it together like a puzzle. And you may have to do that. You may have to take some of your journal notes and scribble them on different paper so that you can lay them out and be like, okay, all of these thoughts kind of are on the same line. They should go over here. All of these thoughts should go over here. You can do that physically with paper if that's how you work, or you can do it in your writing software. If that's Google Docs or Word or whatever that is for you, you can actually do it in there. So you could take all of those notes that you have, you could start typing them in, and then as you come across a thought, you could say, what would be the heading for this thought? Okay, so let's just say you have a thought about your book. I'm trying to think of a thought about a book, but at the moment, um, let's just say you have a thought. Okay, I'm going to use this. I have this in front of me, right? So I'm going to use this. Let's just say you're writing a thought and it's about protecting your purchases. Okay, so you're writing and you're about writing a book about protecting your assets or whatever. So you're writing protect your purchases. You should protect your purchases, blah, 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 blah. And you're writing it out, and then you're like, okay, what would be the heading for this thought? Go ahead and give it a heading. Use your outline feature in your Google Docs or your Word document, whatever it is. Use your outline feature. Make that heading an actual heading in there so that it's showing up on the side in your table of contents, and then move on to the next thought and do the same thing. And then you'll start seeing a pattern. You'll be like, oh, wait, this goes in that protect your assets folder too. Oh, wait, this goes in that. They're not actually folders, right? They're headings in your document, but then you can start plugging those thoughts where they go. So for me, I'm a big journaler. I write in a journal, and I'm so meant to bring one in here to show you guys, and I totally forgot to grab it. But when I journal, I'm trying to see if I have one laying here somewhere. I usually have a half of one. But when I journal, I scribble at the top of the page in the corner, and I put a book's initials in the top. Now, if there's a thought on that page that goes to a particular book, then I draw a line down and I mark it across where that is, what the thought was that goes with that book's initials. Now, here's a tip. If you're going to give your book's initials, go in the back of that journal and give yourself a cheat sheet on what the initials stand for. Because sometimes you'll whimsically come up with a new title right then and there, and you'll give it initials, and then later you won't even remember what the title was. So have yourself a little, what are those called? A little cheat sheet for, I can't think of the word, but like an index that says all these initials belong to these titles, right? So that you know when you go back through. But then when it's time to sit down and work on a book, you can literally thumb through anything that has a scritchy page and look and say, oh, that thought goes in this book. Okay, great. Let me type it in. Okay, keep thumbing. This thought goes in a different book. Okay, we're not working on that today. Keep thumbing. This thought goes in this one. And you can put the thoughts in, and you can do the same thing. You can start organizing them, how they go in that book. So you have to come up with a system that works for you. If my system just overwhelmed you completely, there are other systems out there. You can find other ways to do this. I recently heard of a system for it's some kind of indexing system. It's like the anti something or the, I don't know. I can't even remember what it stood for. But it was using index cards. And apparently like it's a big deal for like referencing, and people are using it like in high schools and colleges to reference their materials. And so they had all these index cards. They were writing out the thoughts. They were like giving it almost like a library number, what is that called, a card catalog number, and they were cataloging these, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are these people doing? Like, I don't have, now you're adding numbers to my writing. I can't do it. I cannot do it. But people were raving about the systems. One lady was like, oh, I've written over 100 books this way, blah blah blah. I'm like, wow, okay, she obviously has a system that's working for her. It would not work for me. To me, that's just extra work, and I couldn't do it. I don't know how they're going back and finding their thoughts in these systems by numbers when my brain doesn't work in numbers. Maybe that's why. If your brain works in numbers, this might be a system for you. It may be something that works for you. If it is and you want the name of it, let me know. I'll try to find it. But it's something that definitely does not work for me. Okay, numbers are not my thing. Okay, so don't hate the notes. Don't hate the thoughts everywhere. Create a system that works for you. Collect them. Maybe it's time to clean up your desk and grab all the notes that you have, right? And put them in folders. Label the folders, whatever that looks like for you. Okay? Start creating some kind of system to collect your thoughts. If it's in a note in your phone, this is what I do when I do notes in my phone. You know how when you open a note, it has like a header, right? It comes up bigger font. I give that the book title, and then I brain dump whatever I'm brain dumping about it. Then when I come back and I'm going to add another note about that, I try to look for the same, like I go to the search feature, find the same note with the same title, and then just brain dump again under it. So have your systems that work for you. What would I do with those notes in my phone? I would then take those over to my computer, just like I said, and start sorting them in the computer. So have a system, figure one out, what's going to work for you to get the content. Don't hate the notes. You have content if you have notes. You should be celebrating the notes. You have content, so don't hate them. Okay, and lastly, the third one is to show up. Your book is waiting, and so are your readers. Your book is waiting. Think about that. I mean, it's just waiting to be written. That's why it's haunting you. That's why it's there with you. That's why it feels like another person in your life, right? And if you've ever watched The Man Who Invented Christmas, you know this feeling because it's like it's real. Even for nonfiction writers, it's like it's following you around and it wants to be written. Write it. Show up. Set yourself a time and show up, whatever that looks like for you. And don't beat yourself up about the time. Don't beat yourself up about, well, I don't have 4 hours a day to write. I don't have I'm not a full-time writer. I'm not a this. Figure out what works for you. I'm not a morning person. Here's the truth, guys. I am not a morning person. I am struggling right now because I was invited. Well, first, I've been invited for years and I've gone a couple times to this mixer thing, business mixer thing that happens on Thursday mornings. It's in town and you're supposed to like present yourself and do all this stuff. And I'm like, they want me to be there at like 7. And I'm like, do you realize I have to leave my house by 6:30 in the morning for that? It means I'd have to get up at 5:30. No, I'm not doing that. It's not that important to me to do that. And so I was recently invited to a breakfast with some girlfriends on Thursday mornings at 7:30. And I'm like, who meets this early in the morning? Like, what is wrong with these people? But here's the thing. They're my girlfriends. And so I don't have to do hair and makeup and it's 10 minutes from my house. So it took me a while to get there in my brain. Like, they're my friends. I want to spend time with them. Why are they doing this at 7:30 in the morning? I don't know. Why am I friends with these ladies? I don't know. I do know why, but I'm not a morning person. And I know, Lisa, I know you're a morning person. I know you get up at the crack of dawn and you totally spend your time with Jesus and you watch the sunrise and praise you. I love you. That's not me. And so, I mean, I do it when I'm on trips and when I have a beautiful place to watch the sunrise, which I know it should be beautiful for my backyard. And it is when I do see it from my backyard, but it's just not, I don't know. So anyway, I have decided that I'm going to go tomorrow. Ponytail, no makeup, whatever it happens to be in the morning is what it's going to be. Because I'm usually up. I'm just not up and ready to go. So why not just be myself? They're my friends. They won't care. So that's the thing, right? We have to do what works for us. For me, getting up, getting all dolled, ready to go, be in front of business people at 7 o'clock in the morning does not work for me. I will hit them at the evening mixers. Like, I'm not going to go to the morning mixer. But with my girlfriends, it works for me. So I can go do that. So figure out the same thing in your writing. What works for you? But you've got to figure out something. Something has to work or the book's never going to get written, right? You've got to figure out the time that works for you. So I know Kim, you've written a whole book. It's already been published and you're working on book 2. What worked for you in book 1? Repeat it for book 2. Laura, I know that you've got 5 poetry books, your dad's prayer books, all of these things written. And some of them were compiled by other people, but the poetry books, you wrote those. And I know that poetry comes a little bit different, at least I would think. I don't know because I don't write poetry, but it's more of an inspirational thing. So maybe it happens you feel like writing a poem and you sit down and write it and the whole thing comes out. I don't know. However that works for you, you've got to figure out a time for compiling the data and making it work to put it in book format. So figure out that time, okay? Make it work for you. You've got to show up. So if you're wanting the 3 all over again, number 1 was surrender to God and allow the Holy Spirit to write through you. Number 2 is don't hate the notes, gather, organize, create a system that works. And number 3 is to show up for your book and for your audience. They're waiting. Okay, we are almost out of time. Any questions about any of that? I'm going to go back and read some comments. I feel awful because I can't do it in real time since it's not popping up in real time. Hey, Leia's watching. Great to have you, Leia, with us today. And congratulations on your rebrand. I saw some information about that. Let's see. Kim says, I love that. Surrendering it to God is huge, especially since he is the one that's calling. Exactly. He's the one that called you. So why do we try to take it away from him? Why do we try? We try. I try. Um, Lisa says, yes, I have that in my thoughts and prayers every day. I missed number 5 twice. Okay, number 5. It's in the email, first of all, that I gave you. Well, I'm trying to think, Lisa, if you're on that list. You should be on that list. Because you're a member, so you should be on that list. Okay, but number 5 again is you've started your book at least once. That was number 5. These are the reasons, are it's time to write your book when. Number 5 was you've started your book at least once. Okay, Kim says the notes were all over the place for book 1. Last week I pulled it all together and broke them into chapters. Chapter breakdowns. It was so refreshing. See how much it feels good to gather that up? It's so beautiful when all the pieces start to put together, like you said, up in a puzzle. Exactly, right? And I love it because my grandmother and I always did puzzles together, and I love puzzles. And so I always count Save the Butter Tubs as the last puzzle we ever did together. It means so much. Okay, the process can feel frazzling, but it's so worth it, isn't it though? And girl, I know you're getting reader feedback already, and it's so good, right, to get those little nuggets. And here's the thing, we don't get them all the time because readers just aren't that good at giving it to us. So keep those pieces. First of all, keep them for marketing reasons, but keep them so you can go back and look at them and you can remind yourself. It means so much. Even as I was moving things from one platform to the other for the membership, I had some reader feedback from a lady I met at a book signing, and I went back and read it, and I was like, oh, so it's in the membership. You guys read it. And then of course from Taco Breath, if you're not in the membership, it's an inside story, but there was a guy named Taco Breath on Instagram. Long story, but it's in there in the membership about his comments and how he was searching for my book. It's so meaningful. And Laura says she's not a morning person either. I get it. I'm so not. I mean, I can get up and I can function and I'm not grumpy. And the same way I'm not a night owl person, I'm kind of just a steady Eddie person, I think. I don't know. I'm not a night owl either. Kim says just squeezing and writing into everyday time. Yes. I wasn't always able to sit down and focus for extended periods. I have a busy ministry on top of working full-time, teenage daughter. Lisa can relate. Lisa, are you listening to Kim? She did it. But I'm blessed to have an understanding husband that knew I needed the time when it came time. Yep, when it came up. Lisa says, I need my Jesus to get me to concentrate when I get up early. Translation, I'm truly not a morning person. I have a 13-year-old that dictates my schedule. Yes, see how relatable that is? Absolutely. That in my prayers is to surrender. Oh, yes, to surrender. Kim says, I'm in the middle of a day kind of gal. Yeah, me too. I think that's, I'm a middle of the day kind of gal. I usually hit my stride around, after lunch sometime, and then I can go well into the evening. But the bad part is my husband usually comes home from work in the middle of that time, and depending on his schedule, it could be early in that time or late in that time. So then I get interrupted, and so I have to make mornings a priority where no one's here, the house is still, other than Jovi being crazy. I have to make time for that. So just figure out what that is for you and do it. So it's a good thing you guys are finding out. Okay. Laura says, I'm the same way, not a night owl either. I've been sick with a stomach bug, so I haven't been. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you've been sick, Laura. Prayers for Laura to get well. Prayers for Yvonne to continue to get well as well. I don't think she's on today, but she had been sick as well. So prayers for you guys, because writing when you're sick is really, really difficult, right? Because you have medicine head, or you just have brain fog from being sick, or just feel awful. So it makes it really difficult. So rest, take that time to rest, and take that time to not overthink your book. Just think about the fact that it's all going to be waiting for you when you get well, right? It'll all still be there when you get well. Okay, if you're joining me for the unboxing of the Writer's Retreat box this month, I actually do have, I meant to count them, I have a couple boxes left for this month. So if you want an August box, you can still grab one of those. And then I have some other mystery boxes. So how that will work is the first people to order will get the August boxes. If that's what they want, hopefully. And then I will just go through the mystery boxes until they're all gone, um, for people who place the orders for those. Now I'm hopping off of this live onto that live, but I'm hopping right back on this channel, if you will, this page. So if you want to watch that and see what was in the box for this quarter or this month and for August, and see what's available to you, you can certainly do that. So until next week, I'm going to start trying. This is something new for me, to send an email every Wednesday morning with some content in it for Writing Wednesday, as well as the link for this event, so that you guys can find it more easily. You can find the replay more easily by going back to your email, and then you have the notes as well. So something new, a little bit more work on my part, but something I really want to do for you guys, because I know that it can be hard to get here sometimes on Wednesdays, and all the help I can give you is that's what I'm here for, right? So I want to help you get here. I want to help you have the notes, and just forgive my spelling errors this morning, because I was in a hurry to get those out to you in that email. So I'll do better next week, and I'm going to do something that I'm going to actually teach on next week. So you'll more to come. You'll want to be here next week for sure. All right. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you next Wednesday if I don't see you on the next one, right after this on the unboxing. But I'll see you soon. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks for being here.